Good morning and welcome to my hobby bench. On the table today I have a very old Saito engine. In fact, it's the earliest version Saito engine and probably oldest chronologically that I've ever had before. And that engine would be what you're seeing here, this FA-30 glow engine, as it says here. Now, this is an open rocker engine, and we'll get to looking at that here eventually. But there are many things here about this box, the engine, and the three other Saitos that I have on the table here that I just find very curious. And those of you that watch my channel quite often know that, first of all, I love Saito engines, and I love the history of them and documenting, at least verbally and visually, all the differences that I see in them. So this box is interesting because, first of all, it's a lift-off type box, as we'll see here shortly. And it incorporates other things, like you'll see here, it's yellow, and then here on the sides, the lettering is orange. In some cases. So we've got the combination of yellow and orange lettering, which I think is curious. So let's just open this box up and look at the beautiful contents of this thing. So as I said, this is the first time I've ever seen a Saito box that opens up like that. Now this is a new in box engine, never been run, and it's as complete as I believe it can be. And before we look at the engine, let's just look at this documentation package that came with it, because a lot of this stuff is really interesting. I've never seen some of this before. So we've got our standard looking Saito instructions here, all with the picture of this engine. Now I have had a Saito FA-40 open rocker engine before on the channel, and a later version, the second, or probably Mark II version of the 30. So the inside here is just all written in Japanese, and here we got a very small exploded parts breakdown, very, very, very small writing, the parts. Now, they didn't have part numbers as you know them today with the SAI and all that kind of stuff as you see in modern manuals. These old engines did not have part numbers like that. So here's the other paperwork that came with it. This one little piece of paper here just states the accessories. Does it open? Yes, it does open. So it's got them listed in Japanese and English. Spanner for tappet adjusting screw, hexagonal spanner wrench, tappet adjusting screw gap gauge, and a wrench for plug use, which is kind of cool. Here's our very old decals. Now I think this thing dates back to probably 1979, which is when I don't know if it was Peter Chin or who wrote the one review article I found on this engine. So here is an interesting little diagram. It says it's a supplement. Do not move spray bar position. If you move it, see drawing A, nozzle position is changed and a bad effect will be caused. So for whatever reason, they're saying don't move that, and we'll get into more of that when I pull the engine out and show you why and all that good stuff. Here's the last piece of information here. The enclosed adapter is used if you have not stable revolution due to tank's position high or low, and or engine's position standard inversion, wow, or side in case of stunt. So basically what they're saying is included in this is a little choke. A round choke that you can put in the throttle barrel to reduce the amount of fuel flow going in. And apparently here they're also stating that a 10-4 prop is something that you could use. They're using that as an example here. And they're saying that wow, this is really unbelievable. The approximate RPM with that 10-4 prop is like between 11,900 and 12,000. I can't imagine running one of these little open rocker engines that hard, but so let's get to the engine. Let me take it out and all of the accessories that came with it. Here's the foam I looked under the bottom of the foam. There is no hidden beautiful things there like sometimes you like to see. Let me zoom in just a bit more here so you can see. Everybody's been wanting to see this beautiful engine, and it is spectacular. Now, the version 2 open rocker engine, they pulled these rocker arm mounts down considerably, about 50%, shortened the length of the spring, push rods, and did all sorts of other changes to this engine. Now, here is the carburetor. Let's see. I thought I had my adjustment screw out here, or my wrench to install this carb on here. So this carb gets installed directly into the top of the head. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. You're probably not. There is an O-ring right in there that this thing will butt up against, or that O-ring would sit in here, but for whatever reason it's in the engine there. So how you install this is with the carb facing, or the opening facing up, and then just snug this up. So that's what the engine looks like when it's ready to be operated, obviously less the header pipe. So this is where they're talking about the spray bar. And see, they've got it pointed straight down. They're saying don't move that this way or this way. For whatever reason, they say that it may cause either less RPM or a less stable running. So that's obviously something that they had experience with while they were designing the engine, apparently. So in this bag here is the exhaust. Now this exhaust is not like other Saito exhausts. It's not threaded at all. It fits right inside here and is held retained with a set screw, just like the carb is. And I know you may not be able to see it, and I'm not certain I want to open this bag at this time, but right here, right there is that little choke that they're referring to about sticking in the carb barrel. And it's got a couple of holes in each side, plus it's just a little cylindrical piece of tubing with holes in either side. So there's our exhaust. Here's our accessory package. This is a glow plug wrench they're referring to, and it comes with a little handle, and then of course the tappet adjustment nut and the feeler gauge and all that good stuff. Now this is a very early version of this engine, because if you can see here on the lug it says B. This is a B production version. So A is obviously first, and then you get to B. So this is a very early engine. It's got really, really good compression. And the funny thing is, let me take this plug out. The funny thing is, I don't know if they were actually making, if Saito was actually making their own glow plugs at this time, because this is not a Saito plug that's in here. In fact, that's why I'm going to take it out, because I want to show you what it is. So you can see it's got a forward-facing plug, like all Enya engines. This plug, to me, is in the style of a Fox idle bar plug. Now, I haven't looked in the instructions to see if they reference a plug, but that sure looks like a Fox idle bar plug to me. So maybe, just maybe, this engine didn't come with a plug. It's possible that it didn't come with a plug and the original purchaser of this engine purchased this plug and put it in there. So I'm not certain about that plug. I'll just barely snug that up. So that is the engine here in a nutshell. Now, is this going to be run is the question? Of course it's going to be run. But before I discontinue, no, that's what I wanted to say. So the one review article about this that I found, and it's not much of a review article, but it does have a picture of this thing being taken apart. And It's interesting to me that if this is the version A, the first version 4-stroke that Saito ever made, they already had in their mind provisions for using an intake manifold. Because if you look here on the bottom of the carb and here on this rear cover, that is the same flange mounting location that you would have on the Mark II versions of these engines, and this just so happens to be a Saito FA-45 Mark II. So they had intentions initially, it looks like, to move this carb down here, center it at 90 degrees, and have an intake manifold on there. So the other Saito FA-30 I had was like that, I believe. I don't have pictures of it in my head right now, but I believe that it may have been like that. I know for a fact the Saito 40 open rocker engine, I don't know what mark that was, if it was a Mark 1 or 2, had, I think it was just the 1. It had incorporated all of those things. It still had the tall rocker arms, but it had the carburetor with the intake manifold, carburetor lower and at 90 degrees. So it's interesting to me that they already had provisions for that in place, and then they were selling it like this, because apparently they already had ideas that they were going to do that. Maybe that's what makes this a B production lot. Maybe the A's, you wouldn't see that on the carb nor on the rear cover. I don't know, I've never seen an A. So if anybody has an A stamped on their FA-30 that's this style, the Mark 1, or when Saito never put Mark 1 on anything. They either put nothing or they put Mark 2. Now I'll digress just slightly here. You see this Mark 2? It's Mark 2, Roman numeral 2. This one says Mark numeric 2. This box has yellow and dark blue. This box has orange. So we're seeing some very interesting things here. Now there's some very, very subtle changes between those two engines also, but I'll save that for another video. So anyway, this has been, you know, a good history lesson for me about these early Saito engines. And the other thing that I think was really interesting here, and I want to show this side by side with another engine, is, let me turn it upside down. I think you'll get a better view of it here. Like this. I'll put it there. You see that there is a huge difference in the length of the crankshaft, the threaded portion of the crankshaft. I think I'm holding these as close to being. And then it's over that wide area of the mat. Look at that. There's at least 6 more threads, maybe, yeah, at least 6 more threads on subsequent versions than there are on this. I mean, this thing, this prop washer, which is also very different, it's aluminum, it's not as thin. It's actually a thicker prop washer, which is going to be a problem too. So this is pretty much making it sound, it is dictating the type of prop that I can use on this. There is no way I can get an APC prop on this. There's just not enough threads left here for that. Now I haven't tried it, but I'm pretty sure APC props are considerably thicker than that, and some wood props are too. So it's a good thing that I've got a pretty decent supply of really old, smaller props, because I'm going to need it to run this engine, because it's just not gonna happen with a larger prop, because you at least need 1 thread as a safety margin to, you know, tighten a prop. I've had one other engine where I barely had a thread coming through, and it was not a very comfortable feeling. So that's another change that they made, and they were probably scratched their head like, well, why in the hell did we Why did we do that? Let me take this off. This looks like there's a little piece of paper or something on here. Some kind of something. It's like copper. Let me see if I can get this off. Initially I thought this was where it just stopped being threaded, but it looks like this is some kind of a copper protective sleeve or something here. I don't think it's really going to matter because the drive shaft or the crankshaft is still really short. Yeah, that's definitely can come off. If I can get it to come off here, it's really on there tight. I don't want to cut my fingers open trying to get it off. Okay, here we go. That kind of split piece of copper or brass was wrapped around this crankshaft. So now, yeah, there is very little of the crankshaft that's unthreaded there. So now I can at least do this and thread this on all the way. But still, that crankshaft is extremely short and does not leave room for a very large prop hub at all. So that'll be my next task here, is to go on and see if I can find some props that would be suitable for this. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this step back through time and is a very early Saito engine. I am quite proud to add to, I don't collect engines, but I'm just going to say I'll add to my current supply of engines. No, this one will never be for sale. Yes, this one will be run. Yes, thank you very much for watching.